Good afternoon and good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube channel and Coffee Stream episode 422. And I hope everyone is having a great Wednesday, and it is Wednesdays with Skep today. How are you doing, Skep?
I'm doing fine. It's funny how the most mundane things that you say can be imbued with, lots of meaning. And I just realized you just said 422 coffee streams.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of streaming, huh?
Yep.
That is just that's a career. You've got a lot of content out there. I'm proud to have been on a little bit of it. It's really amazing how this whole internet thing, which I think is going to take off, is has brought experiences that used to be the province of just a few people, and I mean just a few people on Earth.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Ma and Pa Kettle, my 94-year-old father, gets on and does Zoom calls and Skype calls. He's even been on a couple of live streams, these military live streams.
Oh, nice.
And, you know, suddenly, who knew that that microphones would become a growth industry?
Right?
But everybody, when they first designed the Blue Yeti, I'm sure they were thinking, we'll sell in terms of a few 100,000 units. That's what we're thinking of. We've got to up price it, so we keep our margins solid. No, it's all this business stuff you have to think about when you're doing, you're designing a product like that.
Yeah.
They never thought they would sell 10 million Blue Yetis, but they did. Everybody and his brother has one.
Yep.
Or a snowball or something, some high quality microphone. And lots of people get behind their PC, same as I do, and strap in for another hour with your name here.
Yep.
And now Andy Warhol's thing about fame coming to everybody for 15 minutes, it's absolutely true. But there was one thing that I think Andy knew that he didn't share with the rest of the world. And he probably muttered it under his breath after he said those iconic words that, everybody's going to have 15 minutes of fame. I think he muttered to himself and said, fame isn't going to be quite what you associate with fame.
Yep. Fame is a fickle friend.
Well, it's not just a fickle friend, but it has different degrees. It has different degrees of seriousness.
Yeah.
And we even have words for it. Like when you call somebody an e-celebrity or e-famous,
mm-hmm.
That's this kind of little bit of a slight,
to
say that, well, if you're online, who this person is, that's become a bit of a bright line. Although the generation that used to not be online is now horribly online. The old people, the geezers, the Jewish kitchen klatch housewives getting together in Brooklyn, for their 20-person cooking stream.
Yep.
Everybody in the world can be a TV star. Everybody in the world can, act that way.
Well, even the 7-year-old the other day.
Yeah.
When he wanted to play his game.
God, is he really 7?
He goes, yeah. He goes, I want to live stream. And we're like, no. You have to be 13. You can't live stream. No. Right. We're like, no.
And 13 that's maybe with parental supervision.
Exactly. But yeah, he's definitely not streaming at 7, even with parental super. Like, if he pops in on one of our streams, that's different. Mm-hmm. Right?
That's not what we're talking about.
But if he is not going live himself.
Oh, it's going to be very entertaining when he's about 13. Those hormones are starting to light off.
Oh God.
And, you know, let me show you the latest swimsuit issue of Sports Illustrated. And you'll be lucky if it's that tame. So, yeah.
So it's the last day of June here. And what that means that tomorrow is Canada Day. And this year, I think Canada Day, from my perspective, should be a little bit different. I don't think that it should go as far as to be canceled, which I'm seeing a lot of in Canada, especially um, from Indigenous groups. They're really pushing that especially if they're saying that non-Indigenous Canadians should not celebrate Canada Day, that they should stand with Indigenous people and mourn what's going on. And I think everybody needs to reflect on what's happening. We need to understand that residential schools are not something from hundreds of years ago. The last one closed in 96.
Mm.
So it's not like this is old, right? This is...
Well, I guess Canada Day has attracted, this negative reputation among what they call the First Nations communities.
Yes.
That's what we're calling Indians these days.
Yes.
And also they're capering allies, they're spanieling allies,
Yeah.
who feel that it is the celebration of colonization, I guess, of it.
That's exactly the argument, that it celebrates and apparently it's okay, like I've seen this argument, it's okay to conquer people,
Yeah.
not to colonize them.
Right. So what are you supposed to do?
I don't
subjugate them, put them in prison, kill them, what?
I don't know what they think conquering means.
Yes,
But,
exactly.
And I'm not saying that what happened to the Indigenous people here was good. Like, there were, like, the government wrote and broke all of the treaties that were there, right? They basically they asked the church for help to quote deal with these people, and thus the residential school system came into play, and kids were just like rounded up and put in these things, and there are survivors that are telling stories that are really, 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 really awful.
Well,
And
that's a problem.
it's a huge problem, and they're finding we're up to almost 1,400
I
dead
read that
kids.
number and I absolutely fell off my stool.
Yeah,
I had no idea that problem
and they're
was
not
that
done.
level.
They're not done searching. This is just
They're not done
from,
finding. That's the
no.
problem.
This is just from a few schools out west. As they get further east to like the Iroquois and the Mohawk territory,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna get really bad.
It in 2020 there's an Indigenous rights group called Idle No More.
Yeah.
They organize rallies on Canada Day against what they call, quote, the ongoing genocide within Canada against Indigenous people, end quote. And they talk about missing and murdered Indigenous women, birth lords, substandard drinking water supplies on the First Nations reserves, and police brutality and compulsory sterilization. I realize that's not the same as a reservation. The First Nations
No,
reserves are just land,
but
kind of like a national park.
if you believe this, sterilization, like the compulsory sterilization that they
Mhm.
were talking about, was just deemed wrong in 2018.
Okay.
So up until 3 years ago, it was perfectly like it actually had to be, the Supreme Court had to step in and be like, no, this is actually wrong. No.
What there's a documented history in provinces, like Alberta and British Columbia, and for example, 60 Indigenous women in Saskatchewan, in this was 2017, sued the provincial government. They claimed that they'd been forced to accept sterilization before they would be allowed to see their newborn babies.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the terror of a new mom? No, you're not going to see your baby, not until we cut your tubes.
Yeah.
What?
And a lot of these women, this was like their first baby.
Good God.
And it was like, oh, you've had a baby, you don't need any more.
In British Columbia, they evidently they discovered all kinds of unmarked graves of Indigenous children.
Yep. And they found 215 in British Columbia. They found 104 in Manitoba, in Brandon, Manitoba. They found 751 in Saskatchewan. It's so like
children.
Yeah.
Children.
Like I said, there are massive issues that are going on, massive problems.
I really had no idea it was this level. I had no idea it was. See, this is the problem with the left, the way they shriek wolf all the time. They're always crying wolf.
Yeah.
And they have become like the little boy who called wolf all the time. The wolf is actually here. Mm-hmm. This is actually serious. This is horrifying. I'm reading this and I just am absolutely blown away.
And my fear is that if we do just cancel Canada Day, that the virtue signalers will be like, oh, well,
job done.
See, we stood in solidarity with you.
We sorted those bastards.
Canada Day.
Yeah, we got rid of hate. Now we're the only ones who hate.
It's like, no, this is not going to do a goddamn thing. Like, should we perhaps be as celebratory as we would usually be? Maybe no, probably not, right?
Yeah.
But, like, should we cancel it? No, I don't think so. I think it should be, a day of understanding that we have a lot of moving forward to do and a lot of changing to do, but that we also have things that we can be thankful for at the same time, because we still do live in a very, we are lucky to be where we live. And it's a weird place to be in, and it sucks to open places like TikTok, because Indigenous TikTok is understandably full of anger right now, but a lot of that anger is coming out in exactly the way that we've been that we were treating them. Do you know what I mean? Like,
they're doing the thing that you were decrying.
Yeah, they're all white people are colonizers, and all white people just.
All white people are colonizers.
Yeah, white people.
Your 7-year-old son is a colonizer.
Yep, he's a colonizer, even though he was born here and I was born here and his dad was born here.
Doesn't matter. It's the original sin of whiteness.
Yeah.
Did you know that the name of your country was almost not the Dominion of Canada? Mm-hmm. I did not. It's interesting when you start studying. You really dig down into a little bit of history of people. You guys almost got smacked with the moniker the Kingdom of Canada. I think that is so funny.
Oh yeah, Pincolo brings up a good point about this. He goes, "Think it has come to my attention that the numbers are not even close to what they say they are. Think about the raped
I'll bet he's right.
children whose babies were thrown into the incinerators, which is actually a thing that happened."
My mind just recoils from
Yeah.
that. Uh,
And these were run by mostly by the Catholic Church. There were other churches involved, but mostly by the Catholic Church. And good old Frank, up in his fucking ivory tower in the Vatican, won't like say anything but, "Oh, this is heartbreaking." Well,
fucking do something.
fuck yeah.
Fucking
Fuck
do
you.
something with all the hundreds of billions of dollars you have squirreled away. Do something. You can do something. You can hire something done. Do something. They do nothing. Vatican is just wrings its hands at the world.
Yeah, by the priests. Yeah. These kids were, hurt, and then their kids killed by fucking priests. Fucking
Animals. Fucking animals.
gee, why am I not religious?
Yeah, well, exactly. The
Like,
thing is, you're too moral for religion. Really, your morality is too strict for the Catholic Church.
I have my
Be a good teacher.
morality, and I also don't like to be controlled. I have this almost to a detriment of myself, because there are times where people are like asking me to do something, and I take it as a do it now, like you know what I mean, like
You feel like they're putting their thumb on you.
and and it's fucking stupid, right? It's dumb of me to act like that. So because for most of the time it's not that, it's just, hey, can you do this for
That's
me?
just. Yeah.
But it's
I know
just,
exactly what you mean. It's um, the decisions you make 1,000 times a day about, do I do what I want to do, or do I do what I ought to do? You think about all those things, and when you're a parent, it's like they hand you this never-ending list of decisions and choices you have to make. And you say, when will I be done? They explain to you, no, that comes with the kids. You're never
this
done.
is the list that
You are
never
never done.
ends. It just goes on and on.
My kids are in their 30s, and I still have to intervene occasionally. Not so often anymore. Not like when they were 7.
Oh,
But
my mother still. I sometimes I text her and I'm like, "I'm going to kill my children. Can you please come and take them away?"
to take the children away while they still live. I have been there.
Well, she used to do that, like when I moved out and my sister was like little, right? I would get phone calls. Because, my sister and I are 12 years apart. So it would be like, I would get phone calls. "Your sister is driving me insane.
Oh, yeah.
Can I please drop her off with you?" Of course.
You just need great. Somebody's going to tell me that my car warranty has expired.
You have no idea how many of my blind American friends are getting those calls.
Absolutely. They don't know whether you can see or not based on.
No, it's really funny because, and then they throw them for a loop. They're like, "So, I'm totally blind. Are you gonna offer me a warranty on a self-driving car?" And they're like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
Like,
I'm blind. Is that going to be a problem?
yeah.
And I don't have a driver's license.
I still wanna go to the Ministry of Transportation and be like, "Excuse me, I'd like to take my driver's test. Could you provide me with a braille copy of the driver's manual?"
Absolutely.
So I could study up.
just so you could have a Braille copy. I bet they would produce one for you. I'll bet you can find a Braille copy of the driving manual in Canada. Just because I am who I am, I have to Braille copy of driving records, driving test. Okay. Blind, you'll have to take a Braille driving test in the UK.
That's funny.
Wait a minute. Are you kidding me?
That's funny.
The government agency responsible for driving licenses has spent thousands of pounds translating documents into Braille for blind drivers.
I'm sorry.
I'm not making this up.
If you're blind enough to need Braille, you should not be on the road.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, listen to this. The Driver and Vehicle Licensing Agency offers to translate any of its documents, including license applications forms, into Braille, even though the blind are barred from driving on public roads in Britain. The translation costs for the blind are part of a $120,000 or pound a year translation bill run up by the Swansea-based agency. The DVLA converts documents to 40 languages, including Albanian, Thai, and Latvian. Matthew Sinclair of the Taxpayers Alliance said public bodies spend vast sums on unnecessary translations. He considers a Braille translation of the driving manual unnecessary. How insensitive. He said, too often the public sector translates documents by default rather than asking whether the translation is necessary or the document could be left in plain English. In this case, taxpayers and motorists paying for a new driver's license don't expect their money to be wasted catering for blind drivers.
Ableist bastard.
And a spokeswoman for the agency said, "We will always do this translation if we are asked. It applies to any documentation we issue. No blind person is ever thought to have passed their driving test, although they are not barred from applying. Interestingly enough, you can apply and will be awarded the chance to take a driver's test in Great Britain, even if you are blind."
What's the point if you're not allowed to?
I'm gobsmacked. I don't even know what to say. The DVLA spokeswoman acknowledged blind drivers might be unlikely to pass. Just savor that sentence for a moment. She said part of the driving test requires people to show they can read a car number plate from a distance. Even the theory test includes the hazard perception test, which would be difficult for someone with no visual acuity. They meant ability.
Oh my.
In 2006, blind Omed Aziz, 31, of Darlaston, West Midlands, got a suspended jail term after he was caught driving on the wrong side of the road at 35 miles per hour.
Oh God.
That's like 60 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
He was also banned from driving for 3 years. What? and by a quirk in the law, had to sit and take the extended driving test. You can't make this stuff up, kids. I'm not making up a word of this.
That is too funny.
Blind drivers can drive on private roads. Mazel tov. Last year, Belgian Luc Kostermans broke the world record blind speed record, driving at 192 miles per hour at Istres Air Base in France. Yes, they have blind car racing in France. Don't think I'm going there. Don't think I'm going to one of those.
That's insane. Oh my God.
Huh?
So it is 2 months till school starts again.
Yes. Anyway, I just thought you would enjoy that article.
I did. That's amazing. But so it is 2 months until school starts again, and we still don't know if school sports will be allowed. So we have an article from the CBC stating that parents, teachers, and coaches are writing a letter to the provincial government, basically emphasizing and, well, I guess the polite terms that they're using here is urging, which is basically begging
Begging.
that sports will be allowed to resume in the fall, because quite frankly, this has it's been bad. Like, the fact, not only have we been forced to be inside for months because of winter, we were also forced to be inside basically all last summer because we still didn't know what this shit was about, right?
Mm.
So now, I guarantee you, I'm not the only parent who's going through this. Now, my kids don't want to be outside. We go outside and it's like, oh, I want to go back inside, because that's what they're used to.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. That's some interesting long-term socialization going on right there.
Like, my 4-year-old's a little bit better because he's still going to, like,
Because he's 4.
He's 4 and they kept preschool open.
Yeah.
Right? They kept daycares open. So he's still getting socialization. He's still
That's an
going
interesting
outside.
thing. What do you think is going to happen to these kids who got put into this essentially unnatural environment for a long time? I
It's
hadn't
gonna
thought
be,
about this.
and nobody is repeating a grade, right? So
They all passed?
everybody passed.
Whoa, so this has been really good for academic achievement.
Yeah.
So we need to keep these kids locked up 24/7.
So
They'll be geniuses.
Oh yeah.
God. You know, educator, God must be a very ironic fellow.
Mm.
He puts the dumbest people in charge of education. How did we do that?
I don't know.
And you
Like,
know,
the new
I
head of
understand how it happened. You know, education isn't that demanding a profession. I'm sorry, it's not. You have to have lots of patience, but it's not taxing on the brain. Okay, mostly, so particularly the way education is envisioned by modern educational professionals, which is basically reading a lesson plan that can be read by anyone to anybody.
I had teachers that did that. You could definitely tell the teachers that cared,
Yes,
right? And the teachers that were just reading from their answer book.
exactly.
Right? And like, I still to this day, my history teachers in grade 10 and 11,
Mm-hmm.
they were two different teachers, but they were both, like, they were good friends, and they did a lot of, like, field trips together,
Uh-huh.
and everything, and they both had the same teaching philosophy. And they would start the year by introducing themselves with their first and last name, not just their last name. And they would say, here are your textbooks. We have to hand them out. Go put them in your locker. They're garbage.
Right.
And then I'm going to ask for them back at the end of the year. So just leave them there. Don't take them
Don't
home.
hurt them, and
Don't
don't
hurt
use
them.
them. Don't, for
use
God's
them.
sake, don't read them.
Don't look at them. Yeah. Basically, yeah. Don't look at them. Just,
They can harm you. Be
they
careful.
can. They're full of absolute trash.
It's-
Is what they said. They're full of absolute garbage.
I love this.
I
I love
have
this
to
so
hand,
much.
I have to hand these out. It's my job, but we're not using them. So just put them in your locker where they'll be safe.
I'm handing these out because I will go to jail if I don't.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the
He's
only
like-
reason you're getting
He's
these.
like, this is the first time you're going to see them in my classroom, and the last time you're going to see them in my classroom is when I ask for them back at the end of the year. Otherwise...
Exactly. What a marvelous human being.
Oh, they were amazing.
Yeah.
They used to call pep rallies the Nuremberg rallies.
Oh God, because it looked like the Was that at Nuremberg, that great rally picture that people took of the Third Reich? I think it
I
was.
think
I think
so.
it is actually at Nuremberg. It just happens to be the same city as the famous trials were held
Yeah.
after the war. Um, that that was it. That was a shot that the Germans, they did have a lot of people assembled in one place, but they also did a lot of things in that picture to make you think there were more people than
Yeah.
what there were. They were propagandizing even then.
But it was so like because our spirit rallies were so like every school's is right, you know, chant and repeat and do
Oh
the
yeah,
wave and blah blah. And so whenever and they would get so pissed off if the spirit rallies interrupted their class. So they would be like, "All right, off you go to the rally, my little Nazis! Go go go!"
go Liebchens,
Yeah, pretty much.
go
Yeah.
cheer the Reich ministers on. Ultimate victory over the Juden Reich.
God, I miss those two. They were awesome.
Those are the kind of teachers who you remember.
Yep.
I mean, you you think about the teachers, and teachers really can play this amazing part in your growing up. And all they have to do is care.
Mm-hmm.
They do 90% of what they need to do just by showing up at work. They're
Yeah.
90% of the way there. It's that giving that extra little bit of an effort of caring about, the kids that you're teaching, of caring about getting stuff across, of caring about seeing a change and seeing development in children. If that magic just comes on for you, if that just makes your face light up,
Yeah.
then you belong teaching. If you're an embittered social justice warrior, you should not be in front of children.
It seems like these teachers and want to be around with or be with children and help them because this says many students, parents, and coaches hope to resume fall football, but they continue to hope for approval from the provincial government. You need fucking provincial government approval to play football. Jesus Christ.
Man, Canada really has gone full control, haven't they?
Yeah, because this was signed by over 160 parents, teachers, and coaches to basically call to the Ontario government to allow full return to sports in the fall, particularly football, because that's what would be first. The letter outlines a number.
When you
of
say football,
concerns.
are you talking about soccer? What
No.
Americans call soccer? Or are you
No,
talking
we're
about
talking
Canadian
about
style
Canadian
football?
We're talking about Canadian football.
Canadian rules football?
I
Do they
think
play with
so.
110 yards or a 100-yard field?
I think they play with 110. I never really paid too much attention
Yeah,
to high
that-
school football.
Sure, I understand that.
Because most of the high school football players around me were assholes.
Well, it's
So I didn't
kind of
really
comes with the territory, hon.
I didn't pay attention to them and what they did.
Right. Smart girl. That's funny. That's pretty good.
Like I met one nice football player in my school,
Yeah.
and then like Pink Hollow played football, and I married him. But other than that,
You married the second nice football
I
player you met.
married the second nice.
I married the son of a gun. Good for you. No,
But yeah, it's so I don't know if they play.
I'm just curious. What position did Piccolo play?
I can't remember.
He played in high school, right?
Yeah, he played in high school.
So he's a high
I
school
don't
football
remember
player.
when he played.
Interesting, because I've had the opportunity to see him. He looks like a big guy.
He has he's told me what he played, but I can't
You can't remember.
remember what he played.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think Canadians just want to have that feeling of mommy taking care of them.
See, that's weird. Like there are.
But
some
mommy can be an
Canadians-
abusive parent. That's
there
the
are
problem.
some Canadians that do want that,
Yes.
but but a lot of us don't. And it's really funny because the ones that do want that are so loud about it
Yes.
that you would think that it's all of us, right? But the most of us are like, no, get the fuck out of our lives, government. Right?
Well,
And then
is,
when we say that, those whiny little baby Canadians that want the mommy state are
right.
like, you guys are horrible right wingers and you don't know what you're talking about.
That's right.
It's like, fuck
In Britain,
you.
they have this great health service that takes care of everything, and everything's always free. We want that. Well, no, and no.
Yeah, have
and
you
no, you
heard
actually
about-
don't want that.
Have you heard about what was that kid's name? Alfred or Alfie or whatever? The little British kid. He was like languishing in.
Oh,
like,
I don't doubt it. Because nobody
it was
cares
horrifying.
nobody cares about the individual patients. They just care about performing the functions of their job in a narrow technical sense. They care nothing about patient outcome.
No, they don't.
And that's, I hate to say it, but competition once again proves its superiority over government centralized planning.
Yep.
You simply get a better quality of medical care for most people. But, it's a hard thing.
So this carries on to say the letter outlines a number of concerns, including the mental and physical health of students who have had to put school sports on hold for the majority of the last 2 years. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting bad. Like, really bad. Like, kids' physical health is getting bad. Kids' mental health is just...
But they're doing better in school because nobody got held back.
Yeah.
I promise you that statistic's going to get trotted out. Kids learn better at home. We didn't hold a single student back a grade last year. That's unprecedented. We've discovered the key to learning. Don't examine how well they're learning.
Defensive tackle is what Piccolo played.
Oh, okay. He was a defensive tackle.
He said my high school football was complicated for the first 3 years. It was way different from my senior year.
Okay.
We had a massive amount of weird drama last year with our football. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he looks big. I mean, height is hard to tell. When somebody's seated
Yeah.
in a YouTube stream, but he looks like a very big guy, and I sort of was thinking he might have played one of the strength positions. It's
But yeah, it says it's important to students of Ontario, said Canada high school teacher and football coach Peter Thomas, who helped write the letter. Canada, the rich asshole part of Ottawa. Anyway,
where is Canada?
Canada is like 45 minutes outside of Ottawa. It's basically now become a suburb of Ottawa because Ottawa has expanded so much.
Okay. Canada is a major suburb of the Canadian capital of Ottawa, Ontario.
Yeah.
It is about 22 kilometers west of the city's downtown core and has about 90,000 people living there. It was amalgamated into Ottawa in 2001. It has not been part of the Borg for very long.
No, it hasn't.
It was one of the fastest growing cities in Canada and the fastest growing community in Eastern Ontario.
Yeah, because everybody wants to live there because it's not downtown Ottawa and it's not it's not, Orleans or Barhaven or Nepean, so which is older neighborhoods and they're like full basically. So Canada was
it was farmland until the 60s, it says.
Yeah.
And it just seems like a typical post-World War II
Yeah, pretty
turning
much.
around of agricultural community into suburban community. It looks like a big suburb.
It is.
I guess I said that already. That
It's a very
it is
big
a suburb.
suburb.
Okay,
Yeah.
so and
So it says they've given up more in-class instruction than literally any jurisdiction in the world, and it's true. They have. They've given up like in-class instruction. They've given up sports. All the extracurricular activities. Like we took Alex out of Beaver Scouts because they were doing it on Zoom. It's like you can't do Beaver Scouts on Zoom. Like what the. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and my dad, like, he's stuck it because he's a troop leader, right? So he's stuck it out, but even he's like, I'm falling asleep on the meeting. Like, he's like, this is ridiculous. Like, we're trying, but it is so hard to bring content that
yeah,
matters to scouts, like, that
sure.
is scouting content on a computer screen. Like, it's almost impossible to do.
I actually think you'll see the end of scouting in your lifetime.
I hope not.
Yeah, I
I
think you'll
really
see
hope
the
not.
end of it, and that's a shame because scouting was very important to me. Scouting was, in many ways, for a number of years, was my dad. My dad had a very important, busy job. He was away from home a lot, and I got to go to meetings with men and boys with a pretty healthy, take on the world and life, the universe, and everything. And it molded me. It changed me. I grew up in Scouts. That was very important to me.
I'm just glad that my boys have, Pincolo and my dad
Yes.
in their life who know how
Thank
to,
God for that.
build a fire and
Yes.
tie knots
Yes.
and, shoot a bow and arrow and, sharpen a knife and
Yes.
all that stuff. Like,
That's funny. Almost everything you just said, I learned at Scouts.
exactly.
All my knot tying skills, people say, "Oh, you were in the Navy. You know how to tie knot. You don't learn how to tie knots as an officer in the Navy." I mean, you basically have people like Big Gallo for that.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, no, that's the bosun mate's
That's what
job.
bosun mates do. And actually, the knots that they learn, particularly the first knots, are they tend to be very specialized and tend to serve very specific purposes. But the knots you learn in Boy Scouts are, they just help you in everyday life.
My dad has, he brings up twine whenever he comes up to the cottage.
Mm-hmm.
He has a big, like,
Ball of
spool
twine. Yeah.
And so, because he's making a wall of knots at the cottage. So what he's doing is he's, like,
just tying knots.
Different knots and then hanging them when he's done, hanging them on a specific section of wall.
So is he gluing them into place, kind of thing?
I think so, something like that.
That would be awesome. That would be amazing.
And he's the knot guy at the Scouts. Like,
I'm sure
he's in charge of like the knot badges and all that stuff because he's really into tying knots and he's really like when he's at the cottage. When my dad's at the cottage, you don't touch the fire.
Yeah.
That's right. The rule. You don't touch the.
That's not your area. Believe me. I remember when my dad showed me, of all people, how to tie a sheep shank using what's called the 3-loop method. You just make 3 bites in the a rope, and then you pull one of the bites through 2 of the other bites. That makes it a sheep shank. It's a very useful knot, very interesting knot. And but it looks, when you see one done, it looks like magic. You see these 3 loops of rope, and that's all it is. It just is literally that. And
they really want to tell you about that carb warranty.
it really is that um, it really is just three loops of rope, and you just look at it and say that can't turn into an interesting and fascinating knot. It's a knot that you would appreciate just feeling it. You could feel how complicated that knot is, and you can make it from these three loops very easily.
That's cool.
And yeah, it's as soon as I said, what merit badge is learning that one part of? Well, that's part of pioneering. I said I wanted to start working on the pioneering merit badge. Exactly the next words out of my mouth, and that was the next merit badge I earned. That, in my opinion, was by far the hardest of all the merit badges that I ever earned. Was pioneering. Yeah, it just had an endless number of requirements. I had to make a latrine. I had to build a fucking latrine. Now, this was a lashed bunch of, stripped branches. Okay.
Right.
You went out and got some saplings and not saplings really, but a little bit larger trees, cut them down with a hatchet. Yes, with a hatchet, and stripped off the intervening, leaves. So you basically have a pole.
Yeah.
And you put 6 poles up. I could still remember how to do it, and lash them into place and using a certain type of lashing technique. And you put that over the pit that you dug, and voila, the latrine.
You have a latrine.
You can sit and go to the bathroom. And and that was just like one line item, and there were like 150 line items that you had to do for this fucking merit badge.
Damn.
I felt like that merit badge should have been a blanket.
Here's your merit blanket.
It's the same size as my public speaking merit badge, but it's a lot harder. Imagine me not having trouble with the public speaking merit badge. Can you imagine that? I can't imagine that. But anyway, I had no problem with it. None. But the pioneering set me back, man. That took me like seriously 4 or 5 months to earn that fucking merit badge. And it was in the winter in Colorado, which isn't like the winter in Canada. Well, it is actually a little bit like the winter in Canada. Yeah. We were at 7,000 feet, so it was pretty far up there in the mountains. And that's where our house was. That's not where camp was. Camp was at 12,000 feet.
Oh my.
Oh yeah. That's
high.
It was up there. It was exposed, and it was above timberline. We had to walk down into the woods to gather firewood.
Damn.
Yeah, it was. So camping in Colorado is interesting.
Did you hear about the crash at the Tour de France?
No, what happened?
Well, let's find out. There was an article that I have that says camera-obsessed fan accused of causing major crash at Tour de France. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen.
A woman holding a large sign bearing the words Alle Opie Omi, German terms of endearment for grandparents, clipped Germany's Tony Martin, who lost his balance and set off a chain reaction that sent cyclists sprawling across the pavement as she stepped in front of the peloton to display the sign for TV cameras. Oh my God. Are you kidding?
Fucking idiot.
What?
What a selfish bitch.
I know. What? That just... Yeah, she's gone missing after fleeing the country.
She did that on purpose, said Pink Hollow. Yeah, I bet she did. Because, like, I don't get why people do shit like that. Like, I really don't.
No, I'm with you. I am. People's need for attention just knows no bounds, really. It's irritating. Are you sharing your screen now?
Oh, I'm just getting up there. I'm just getting to the button. Hold on.
Because I can put the video up if you want. I've got the...
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah,
I
this.
will. I will add your screen.
All right. Well, okay. Let me get
Oh
this.
no! Wait. No, I'm good. I'm gonna. Do you want to share your screen and show
Yeah,
the video, and then?
I'm doing that now. Hold on
Okay.
1 second. Let me just do.
And then I'll share my screen, and we'll read the. Okay.
Yeah. Let me share screen and share the audio also. Yes, and it is a Chrome tab. There it is, the CBS footage. All right, and
Oh. Where are we here? There's Blind Press. There's Skep.
yeah,
And there's
it should be a
Skep
second.
screen.
There
It
it is.
is. Add to stream. Okay, here we go.
All right, I'm going to start this off. Basically, I'm going to describe it so you just see a wall of bicyclists coming at you. Okay, that's and this is the Tour de France.
Yeah.
And the headline from some Twitter, some troller said, "Great to see spectators back involved in sports, eh?"
What's going to happen? How many people
Here they
are
come.
going to get back up?
Right, that sign right there,
left
Phil.
of your picture. Oh my goodness me! What's going to
How
happen?
British of him.
Oh my!
Right, that sign.
How British. Oh my goodness me.
I've stopped it right at the critical point where she has extended the sign out in front of the bicyclists, so they are like 1 foot away from about to hit the sign, and she's mugging for the camera and so forth, just thinking she's having this great Kodak moment. And then
Right there,
left
Phil.
of your picture.
the guy hits
my-
it, and he just
my
absolutely
goodness
goes
me.
down.
Wipes out,
And
What's going to happen? How many
yeah.
people are going to
she's-
get back up?
and
Right, that
she's
sign
just
right
like,
there,
left
Phil.
of your picture.
like
Oh,
listen to the
Oh
commentator.
my goodness me!
oh my goodness,
It-
man!
How
What's gonna
British is that, right? Oh my goodness me. Had that been in like a North American setting?
Unbelievable!
Oh my god, did you see that?
I took down my screen.
But
I
it's
just
the
thought you would appreciate, hearing the reaction to that and getting a description of what actually went down. So go ahead and put your screen up.
It's the same thing with if you watch like Antiques Roadshow.
Yes, which I do.
Because the Americans and the Canadians, when they get told something is like worth a lot of money, they're like, "Oh my god!" Right? And,
Yeah.
then the British people, when they get told it's worth a lot of money, they're like, "Oh my!"
Oh,
You
well,
don't say.
that'll buy a lot of fish and chips.
it's like,
That's really
oh my
quite valuable,
god.
then, isn't it? Yes, it's.
Well, we made it. We made a good purchase then, dear,
Yeah,
didn't
you're
we?
worth more than the Scottish government.
So, okay, so here we go. So here's the article. Where are we here?
Yes. Okay. So French authorities have launched an investigation after a fan caused dozens of cyclists to crash during the Tour de France on Saturday. The disastrous fall was caused by an asshole standing on the roadside of the Tour's opening stage. I changed one word.
I figured.
She stepped in front of the racing pack holding a cardboard sign appearing to display a message for the television cameras. According to the race's video coverage, the sign hit German rider Tony Martin, who was cycling near the head of the pack. Martin fell, which led to the subsequent crash of dozens of riders behind him. Cyclists fell en masse, and the crash left bikes and bodies tangled in the
I
road.
bet.
The fall held up the race for several minutes. That's the last thing on your screen. So we're for several minutes.
Where are we here? It says law enforcement officials from the Finisterre area.
Yeah, Finisterre.
In the-
Finisterre area in western France have opened an investigation into the cause of unintentional injuries by manifestly deliberate violation of an obligation of safety or prudence, according to a statement on Facebook.
Unintentional. Oh bullshit.
Yeah. Authorities have launched a call for witnesses. The woman left the scene before investigators arrived, according to Facebook post. A spokesperson for some sports organization, who is also the Tour de France organizers, confirmed to CNN the company had made a complaint to the authorities. According to the Tour de France website, 3 riders have withdrawn from the race following Saturday's first stage, including German rider Joshua Suderlin, who was involved in the crash.
Well,
His team, DSM, said in a statement that Suderlin was taken to a hospital for examinations, which revealed no broken bones, but severe contusion to his right wrist that will require further examination, treatment back home, blah, blah, blah.
And a contusion is a bone bruise, so that's... And those bikes are expensive. Like,
Oh, you have no idea. Yeah, those are $1 million bikes.
That's a lot of damage that she's just caused.
I don't know that they're $1 million bikes, but
But they are expensive. They're like the racing bikes are very costly. Like they have to be in good working order and like, because these are also, they're not just for racing, but they're for long distance racing.
The starter bikes that you buy for the Tour de France, the starter bikes, and this is before you do massive customization to them,
Yeah,
are about $11,000 to $12,000,
I believe it.
and then you typically have another $10,000 worth of work done to it.
Yeah, gotta make it yours.
And most pro riders on the tour are riding a bike that starts out as a $10,000 and up in retail value,
Wow,
and then they customize them from there.
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's just a bike, man.
What a dumb bitch.
I know.
That's the best thing I could call her. Is what a dumb bitch.
that is nearly Teutonic stupidity. It's that special kind of German thickness that just makes you wonder how they did the great things that they did. Germany's a great country, don't get me wrong, but boy, they produce some stupid citizens periodically.
Yeah.
I mean, they
So I've got one more article that I think we should look at, because it's near and dear to both of our hearts.
What requires our attention here?
It's an article from the Toronto Sun called "Attempts to Control Internet Content Brews Discontent, as it should." I would hope it would brew discontent.
Pray to God.
Right? So this is an article from the Toronto Sun, which most liberal-minded people in Canada would go, "That's a conservative paper." Most of the people that write for the people do have kind of a liberal or a conservative mindset, but it's not like overtly conservative. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, it's
I know.
not. It's just an argument that some people use to, negate any valid points that the Toronto Sun may happen to
Possess,
to bring up.
Yeah.
I find that happens a lot, that somebody makes a valid point and they go, "You're a right-winger." Okay, so I'm right. Okay. You have nothing valid to say.
Attempts to control internet brew discontent. Imagine my shock. Potential new rules about internet regulation continue to confuse and divide Canadians.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is so Bill C-10 passed.
Okay.
To refresh everybody's mind, Bill C-10 was an update, an amendment, I guess, to the Communications Act.
Yes.
And the Liberal government is claiming that it is just basically to modernize the Communications Act to include internet, like, content.
I remember this.
Yeah, and to force tech giants to pay into the Canadian Creators Fund, basically.
Yep. They
And
want their taste.
And they've passed it.
C36, what does that cover?
C36, I can't remember what C36 is.
Hang on, I'll look it up. Don't pause from what you're doing.
Okay. So it says the lack of where are we here? So a story in Blacklock's reported that Heritage Minister Stephen Guilbeault hasn't received a single letter in support of the regulation. Oh my.
Okay, C36 is Liberals introduced bill to fight online hate with criminal code amendments. Liberals have introduced a bill to tackle online hate by amending Canada's criminal code and Canadian Human Rights Act. Bill C36 would allow a person to appear before a provincial court with the Attorney General's consent if the person fears that another will commit an offense motivated by bias, prejudice, hate based on race, national or ethnic origin, language, color, religion, sex, age, mental or physical disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression, or any other similar factor, quote unquote.
Yeah. Fears.
Hate is defined in the bill, listen to this, as, quote, the emotion that involves detestation or vilification and that is stronger than dislike or disdain. But hatred is not incited solely because it discredits, humiliates, hurts, or offends. It can be other things. So in essence, any person in Canada can say, I don't like the look on that person's face, lock him up, and they have to lock you up. That's what that bill says. That's not overreading that bill at all.
That's like, this is the Liberal government.
That's insane. If the person fears that another will commit an offense, if you fear that a person, there are people who walk through this world afraid of everything.
Yeah.
Yes, they're afraid of everything. They think everyone is going to do these horrible things all the time. And so the Canadian government feels like we need to be their prisoner because why? I'm sorry. I just don't get that blind press.
It seems like on the surface they want to give the police the power to help us, then just stop us. I hope that's what C36 will do. But I don't like the language. I don't like the language that they're using. Like, in fear of that, I really don't like that. If you're in fear of, like, but on the other side, a lot of problems happen because people go to the police in general in real fear of being hurt by somebody who is stalking them or whatever, because for whatever reason, and the police say, well, nothing's happened to you, we can't help you yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see, like, do you know what, you know where I'm coming from, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
it on one hand, that language is very shady and can be used,
I understand where it's coming from.
For very bad things, but on the other hand,
it's frustrating that bad people walk among us.
Yeah.
It is. But one of the deals that you make to live in society is that you are going to let bad people walk among you because locking up good people is so much worse
Yeah.
than tolerating bad people. And that's a difficult thing to have to admit to have to say, yeah, we're going to let 10 guilty people walk free to avoid locking up one innocent one. That's a noble and good goal for society. It's still, in my opinion, the best goal. That's the best way to run your society. Because if you simply start locking up everybody who's not like you, pretty soon you're the only one who can do anything.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work. I was reading this thing that you have on the screen. It's the lack of letters may fly in the face of Gilbeau's claims that most Canadians would support such regulation with only a minority against it. He testified in January at the Commons Heritage Committee that a high proportion of Canadians were asking the government to step in. He said, how many letters or emails asking the government to do so is not specified in any of Blacklock's story. When asked, his office said it had received 389 letters and emails by April 30th and has not received any correspondence asking for more internet censorship or regulation. The public is not clamoring. These are activists. It's just like what you said earlier in our podcast today. It's a few of the noisy jerks out there who get all the attention.
It is.
I mean, that's it has ever been thus. It's been that way since Roman times, and we're not going to change it today. But I sure did have fun spending an hour talking about it with you.
I did too. The internet has become like. Do you remember that scene in The Life of Brian when Brian is hiding from the Roman guards?
Yes.
He's hiding in this town square where everybody's like the different people are standing on their soapboxes and they're preaching.
I've got to watch that movie.
Yeah, that's what the internet has become now.
Yes.
It's just a giant town square, and every 2 feet there's somebody else on a soapbox.
That's right.
Just yelling into the void.
Instead of soapboxes, we have blue Yeti microphones to take this full circle to where we started on this call today. But yeah.
Well, guys, thank you for spending another hour with us. I hope you enjoyed yourselves, because we sure did. Tune in tonight on Twitch for Beat the Blind Girl. And I'll probably do a Beat the Blind Girl stream tomorrow night as well. Just because it's a Canada Day and everything. And
don't forget to join us Saturday for the Tech Do Trek.
Yes, and I will be streaming from the cottage.
Yes.
So that'll be fun.
Let me know if you want me to set that up.
Okay. Maybe my dad will randomly wander through and yell random things, because my dad's in a weird he's a Star Wars guy more, but he also really likes Trek, so it's kind of he's often disappointed that I ended up more of a Trekkie than a Star Wars person, but
I think you can be both. I've never accepted the mutual exclusion.
No, I've never either.
Of either one. Just enjoy.
I refuse
each one.
I refuse. I only enjoy the first three.
I was just going to say, there was a 3-movie franchise called Star Wars that I enjoyed very much.
Exactly.
Those are the only movies I know about. I don't know about any other movies, and I don't want to know about any other movies. Thank you.
Exactly. On that note, my friends, have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday, and we will see you later.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for having me on.